again, I say it was such a great training ground because I really learned to smell bullshit really early. And there is so much bullshit in that world. But you meet great people too, and you sort of learn to navigate the teams that come around people. So a celebrity that's sort of layered with, their publicists and their managers, and there's this, and everybody's trying to spin things the other way. And I think I really had to just navigate, well, what is the sort of the truth behind this? So it was a really fascinating kind of odd start into war reporting.
Well, yeah, I mean, I imagine that I can understand, where you're coming from and what you mean by that, and that if you can get through all of that, which the whole kind of point of it is a facade over a facade, kind of thing. Where I can see where there's probably not, in terms of keeping you safe while you're learning, a better training ground for sifting through everything and getting to the root of whatever issue it is that you're talking about. I mean, that actually, it seems like that'd be the best place to send anybody to learn, right? I mean,
yeah, totally. And as long as you're not trying to be, and which I, don't think I ever was, I think the kiss of death people make in that industry, or in any journalism industry really, is trying to be friends with the subjects.
Yeah.
So for me, that was, and of course I met great people, and I still have a few good people that I like from that world, but I was never trying to be a friend. I was never the starstruck person. And I think that's what makes you, better or more efficient at your job than people that are kind of trying to kiss your ass, basically.
I think that's the biggest problem with political journalism now is
Sure.
that's what happens, is that, on both sides, admittedly, but is that you've got, journalists who are interviewing people that they like and they want to promote their agenda, and they throw them fucking softballs, and I think most people can see right through that. I think the left is historically terrible about that, because there's so much of the media is such a heavy left bias. Did you find any of your personal politics interfering at all, or manipulating some of your line of questioning, or did you ever find yourself having to keep yourself in check, or was it really easy to compartmentalize that?
I think for me, again, that was a real training ground. I remember as an intern in New York City at Fox, and I remember Roger Ailes speaking to us as interns, and one of the big things that he instilled at that time was, you're going to present both sides of the story. And so from my very beginning, the emphasis was always on, you are always going to be balanced. What you say doesn't matter. I remember, a coworker asking me at the time what my politics were, and I said, it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter. And if we're having a professional conversation, it doesn't matter. So that was always that was the values that were instilled in me from a very young age. So I don't think I struggled with that, because everything I looked at, I tried to look at it from the lens of this. And that's one thing I tried to do in the book, that is the lens of how everybody's thinking without judgment.
Still talking about kind of logistics, I'm fascinated by, and just because I just know nothing about it, but like would Fox or whoever you're working for at that point, provided you're not freelance, independent, whatever, would they say, hey, we want you to go here, or find a place to go, you have a budget of X number of dollars in this amount of time? Is that kind of...
So usually how I used to work it, and I had a great relationship with my previous boss in that sense, who had worked a lot in the foreign space as well. So I would sort of pitch an idea of, I wanted to go here to cover X, Y, Z, and sort of pitch, usually a bunch of stories, and maybe 2 or 3 would get approved. And then, of course, when I was there, I'd do a bunch of other ones as well. But I usually went in with a sort of a base idea of what it was that I was trying to cover while I was there, because that enabled me to then sort of look for the right connections, look for the right aid groups, look for the right interview subjects, whatever it may be. So I did have some structure, and I wasn't just kind of going in and going in cold. So I had an idea, and then it would just come down to, I usually sort of put together some sort of a budget. Okay, this is the flight, this is the hotel, this is where I'm going to stay, and basically this is how much this fixer costs. And so there's a lot of even just kind of planning, and then a lot of the time it can go nowhere. But once I guess that green light from the sort of basic outline, and I then was sort of able to then have to really hone in on how to make everything happen. And I think the hardest thing for me sometimes was trying to translate to people back home. If I was on the ground there, okay, just because somebody told me that I could cross the Euphrates on a boat and go to Syria on Wednesday, I may get all the way to there and then they've gone for the day to take a nap and they're not coming back until Saturday. So, so it's always explaining, like, I'm on Middle East time right now. Yeah. I can't change the situation. You can only be patient with it. And so I think that was always, a little bit of a contention. I was like, you just need to bear with me.
The God-willing approach to everything.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm curious, and I'm sure it changes just like, or it varies rather from trip to trip. But if you're by yourself and you're relatively mobile, you're kind of bouncing all over the place. What do you pack and how do you carry it?
I take as little as possible.
Yeah, which makes sense. But so, I mean, is everything in a backpack or? Pretty
much. So everything's in a backpack. I used to sort of take my armor and take stuff, as journalists, you buy your own generally. So I used to, but I just found that to be so laborious and so many problems at the airport with that stuff. Yeah. What is this for? What are you doing? Yeah. So I just usually, especially with Iraq, I made some good sort of connections there with some contractors and other friends and things on the ground. So I usually just sort of arranged to pick something up if I needed it from them instead. Yeah. And the same with Afghanistan. So that made my life a lot easier because then I could just kind of go in with my backpack, usually carried a couple of different iPhones and then bought a burner phone when I was there. And then, just a pair of boots, a pair of pants, a T-shirt. You're a buyer in case you went to the South or somewhere that was much more conservative. And then a bunch of notebooks, and that was kind of pretty much it.
What gives me heartburn about kind of the media situation and just our culture here is how big of a contrast there is, and how blind people are to how most of the rest of the world is, or a large portion of it. Mm-hmm. And again, just that understanding, or not even understanding, I would say that a sense of entitlement. That if something happens to me, I call a number and it gets fixed right fucking now. Yeah. And that's just how it works. And I deserve that, whereas in so many other places, for any family to imagine a scenario where a group of masked gunmen come to your house, kick your door in, take your mom, take your children, shoot your dad, burn your fucking house down, and nothing happens. That's a harsh reality in so many places.
Totally. And that's what I used to explain to people when they come back. Imagine living in a place, as flawed as the US may be, as difficult as, as imperfect as it may be, we have hospitals we can go to when we need to. We have police and 911 we can call when we're in desperate help. We have a justice system that enables, to the best of its, again, it's flawed, but it exists. And these people just have none of those institutions. They have nothing to protect them. And when they are wronged, there's nobody to go to complain. There's nobody to go to seek protection. And that just has to be, I just can't imagine what that life is like. Yeah. Permanently.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, like you said, like you can leave, right? Mm-hmm. So there's always that safety net in the back of your mind of like, hey, I can fucking leave right now if I wanted, whereas they can't.
Yeah.
That is their world, their reality. And that, again, I wish more, I wish everybody here understood that, and I wish that they didn't take for granted and bicker about the things that we bicker about here when it could be not even 1,000 times worse. Man, I don't even know how you put a number X times, worse than that.